Hey guys, welcome back. It's finally April, and that means as the weather continues to warm up, we'll be spending a lot more time out in the garden, and I'm really excited about that because it's been a long and very cold winter. In today's video, we have a few garden projects that we need to complete, beginning with getting our peas started. Now, I have a few varieties of both vegetables and flowers that will be growing indoors, along with a bit of direct sowing in the garden. The flower varieties I'm growing are Janet Scott, Late Spencer Blend, and Midnight Sweet Peas. Then for the veggies, we have Oregon Sugar Pod Snow Peas, Sugar Daddy Sugar Snap Peas, and finally Alderman Shelling Peas. But before we get started, if you're new here, hi guys, my name is Marsha the Blackthumbgardener, and I live in Ontario, Canada, Zone 5B, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe, and if you're returning, welcome back, and thank you so much for supporting my channel. Now let's get started. I'm just filling up these mason jars with water first and dropping the seeds in for a soak. If you haven't done this, it's just a quick way to soften up that hard shell so they sprout a bit faster. Ideally, you'd leave them for 8 hours or even overnight, but I'm definitely not doing that today. I've got too much to do outside, so a quick soak will have to do. They might just take a little bit longer to pop up, but that's totally fine. I'd like to get my peas started about 4 to 6 weeks before my last frost date. Now my last frost date is May 5th, so we're right around that range. These guys like to thrive in cool temperatures, and you can actually direct sow these outside as soon as your soil is workable. You want to aim for soil temperatures anywhere from 5 degrees Celsius and above. Now for me, I like to get a bit of a head start indoors and then transplant them into the garden in early spring, about 2 weeks before my last frost date. Now that we're all done here, we have one more task we need to do inside before we head into the garden. I have a package I need to unbox. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably remember that I added a fountain to my garden last year. The birds have been enjoying it so much, so I really wanted to expand on that. My friends over at Kingsyard were kind enough to send me a new bird feeder to try out, and I'm really excited about it. The big thing for me is that this feeder is squirrel proof. I was honestly amazed at how many options they have available on their Amazon store, but this one caught my eye. This is actually the first time I've ever had a bird feeder, and to be honest, putting it together is incredibly easy. It comes with this funnel for the seed, which of course I washed first, and then it has these holes that slowly release the seeds as the birds eat. The top keeps everything nice and dry, and it has a handle so I can hang it anywhere. I chose the metal version because I wanted something sturdy that'll actually last through our snowstorms and those hot sunny days. Since I'm such a newbie at this, I did do some research before I went out and picked up some seeds, and I settled on a bag of black oil sunflower seeds, which are supposed to be great for attracting finches, cardinals, and nuthatches. I get so many birds visiting the garden throughout the season, so I'm really looking forward to seeing them use this. Now let's hang this up in the garden. I wanted to put it as close to my fountain as possible, and I already have a pot hanger right here. I'm so happy it fits, guys. It's the perfect size. If you've been looking to add a feeder to your yard, you can use my code BLACKTHUMB to get 20% off. I put the link to their store in the description below, and just keep in mind that my discount code ends on June 18th, so I'd grab yours as soon as possible. Honestly, if you have a problem with squirrels, I highly recommend this one. I've been watching a squirrel try its absolute hardest to get inside, and it just cannot do it. That's all the proof I need to know that this feeder is really squirrel proof. Now, it took about 2 weeks for the birds to use the feeder. I think they need to know whether it was safe, so they spent all that time scoping it out and hanging around. I'm sure they were even talking to each other, but then once they felt comfortable, they've been enjoying the seeds every day. Now, I've had to be stealth about getting footage, so it's not that clear, but it's been so much fun waking up in the morning and seeing them enjoying the feeder. Thanks again to Kingsyard for sending this out. Since we're outside, I thought this would be the perfect time to direct sow some flower seeds. I have larkspur and 2 varieties of nigella, Love in a Mist, and Bridal Veil. Now, I haven't started these seeds indoors yet, and I thought that they would do better being direct sown into the garden. I'm adding the larkspur beside my Vago raised bed. I'm removing the mulch and then adding the seeds, and then over to the fountain area where I'm adding both varieties of nigella to each side of the fountain. I don't need to water everything in because the soil is already wet. Since we have our bird feeder up, I think it's time to take the fountain out. I'm sure the birds need a spot to grab a drink or take a quick bath. It's been sitting in my garage all winter, so it needs to be cleaned out really well, and then we need to fill it back up with some water. Now that the fountain is back up and running, just hearing the sound of water in the garden is so calming. But I need to come back and level it, and I think our peas are ready to be sown, so let's head indoors and get started. Since I'm not in the grow room today, I'm putting down a potting mat so we can keep the space relatively clean. Now I'm using potting mix today for this, and I've already poured some hot water over it to remove any fungus gnat eggs. Now before we get started, we need to assemble these root trainers. Peas are a bit picky about their roots, which is why root trainers are such a game changer for them compared to standard seed trays. Now using these containers helps to limit root disturbance, and root trainers usually open up like a book or a clamshell style, so you can gently lift the plant out and drop it straight into the garden hole without tearing or stressing the roots. I also like the gutter method because you can slide them right in as well, but these root trainers also allow for the roots to go deep because peas usually want to send down a long taproot, and standard seedling flats are just often too shallow, causing the roots to hit the bottom and start circling or becoming root bound. Now root trainers are extra deep, giving that taproot the space it needs to grow straight down and strong, and I have used solo cups in the past to grow my peas, and that works really well also. Now I'm not saying that you can't use your standard seed trays, it will still work. I'm just sharing another way to grow peas that allows for the roots to have more space to grow. So I picked up these root trainers from Lee Valley Tools, and this is not a promo for them. I'm just sharing where I picked them up, and each root trainer, which is a row of 4 cells, is about $2.50 each. I like these compared to ones sold on Amazon because they're made out of hard plastic, and so they'll last a very long time. I just find the ones on Amazon can be made of flimsy plastic and doesn't really last very long. Now we have a few of these we need to assemble, so let's speed this up. So I'm filling these containers with potting mix instead of seed starting mix. Now while the seed has everything it needs to sprout, because peas grow really fast, by the time they have their first set of true leaves, they're already looking for food in the soil. Now potting mix usually has a bit of compost or fertilizer that keeps them happy until they hit the garden. I'm also planting these less than a month before they go outside, and I don't want to have to fertilize them indoors. Now before you grab those seeds, pay attention to the ones floating at the top. These seeds are not viable, so you want to throw them away and only use the seeds that are at the bottom of the container. I'm going to start off with sowing the Sugar Daddy Sugar Snap peas. This is definitely a tongue twister, and it's one of my favorite varieties to grow. It produces a plump, thick pod that you can eat fresh straight out of the garden. Now, I call them garden candy because the taste is so sweet. This one is very productive in the spring, but like all peas, will fizzle out once the temperatures heat up. Next, we have Midnight Sweet Peas. The blooms are a deep burgundy, which I love because a lot of my spring flowers are bright pink or white or peach, and having a darker flower to add to bouquets is definitely a must-have. Now, I grew this one last year and I just love the blooms. Now moving on to my absolute favorite pea variety, and that's Oregon Sugar Pod 2. I know I'm intermingling the vegetables and the flowers, but this one is a snow pea which you can still eat fresh in the garden but does really well when cooked. Now I love saving these and using them for stir fries, and these guys are also really easy to keep in the freezer. Now I'm going to be growing this one in both the spring and the fall to build up my stockpile. Now back to flowers with the Late Spencer blend, and I think it's been a while since I've grown these flowers. Now this one blooms later than some of the other varieties, and it can also take some heat. Now if you like to use sweet peas for cut flowers, this one is a great pick because the stems on them are pretty long, and you also get a variety of colors from pink to purple to white to that deep red and even blue. This one is also highly fragrant. And then we have a new pea variety that I tried growing last year with no success, and that is alderman shelling peas. Now, I think I tried to grow this in the fall last year, but I'm giving it another go. I thought a shelling pea would be pretty cool to try, so stay tuned to the channel to see how I harvest and preserve this one. And if you have tried this variety, let me know in the comments. Now, with peas, you want to sow them about 1 inch deep, and you don't want them in wet, soggy soil or the seeds will rot. Now, I've pre-moistened my potting mix so that it feels like a wrung out sponge, but anything wetter than that and you may risk your seeds rotting before they even have a chance to germinate. Now, these plants are also called tall telephones because they need a pretty tall trellis to grow, so I might plant this one in ground and run it along a trellis. And lastly, we have Janet Scott, which is my favorite of the bunch when it comes to sweet peas. I love the delicate pink color that gives off a beautiful fragrance. Guys, my garden will not only be beautiful this spring, but it'll also smell incredible. Now, this variety is also a bit heat tolerant, so for those of you in warmer climates, this might be one to try if you're worried about temperatures warming up too fast. Now, I ended up planting 2 per cell because, of course, I soaked way too many seeds. Ideally, you want to sow 1 seed per cell, but as usual, I ignore my own instructions. Now that we're all done, I'm just going to pack everything up onto this tray and bring this down to the grow room, and then we're going to be heading outside because we have a lot of peas left and I figured we might as well direct sow them into the garden. Now, before I get started out here, I had my soil thermometer in the soil for at least 15 minutes beforehand, and looking at the temperature dial, we are still under the ideal temperatures to direct sow peas. Now, the soil temperature should be about 5 degrees Celsius, and right now we're just at 4. Now, I'm going to sow these seeds anyways because we have them ready and they'll come up when the temperatures improve. Now, we're heading into a warm week, so I'm not worried, and if they don't germinate, of course, I have all of my starts indoors. Peas are always one of the first seeds I sow into the garden each year, and I think it's because I'm impatient and need to do something in the garden, so these are always the first seeds that go in. Now, I'll be sowing a lot of my other seeds like lettuce, arugula, carrots, beets, and radishes into the garden soon, but I just need to amend these beds and do a soil test first, something I should have done in the fall. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to follow along. Now, I don't know about you, but when the weather warms up, the sun is out, and I'm in the garden, I'm truly at my happiest. I just feel better. My mood improves. And when I'm planting something with my hands in the soil, starting seeds, man, that is my happy place. So I'm sowing my leftover seeds on both sides of my trellis. I just have to be mindful of that because you can't plant peas near onions. So I need to revisit my garden plans to ensure that they aren't in the same bed. Now that we're all done, we can head back inside. While I did enjoy this beautiful weather, this was the next day. It's a few days later and it's time to check on our peas. There's a lot happening in the grow room right now, and I'll be doing another seedling update soon, but it looks like some of the peas have germinated, so we'll be planting these into the garden sooner than later. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.